So I'm working on this 1948 Allis Chalmers B. The engine was stuck. I got it freed up in the last video, and I have since then reinstalled the head. I actually just reused the head gasket that was in it, and got the valve cover back on and everything. I set the valves, they're supposed to be set hot to 10 thousandths. I set them to 20 thousandths cold, and then I will reset them if I get this running. It's still a big if. Because the next thing I have to do is I'm going to just take a good look at the repair that was done on the side of the block for when it apparently froze and cracked at some point in its history. With the alternator bracket and the carburetor removed, here's what that bolt-on patch looks like on the side of the block. Well, I got the patch pulled off of there, and looking at it, it looks like it's been brazed sometime in the past. In the center it looks like, but if you look right up there, that kind of looks like a crack. But I'll clean it up and see. Most of these holes go into the water jacket, so if I bolt the patch back on again, I will have to seal the bolts. Well, that is definitely a crack on those top holes. When I took the block drain out, I realized it had been brazed all the way back to here. I don't think it was leaking there anymore, but I'm not going to dig into this too deep. I'm going to try to just reseal what was there the best I can. And as long as it holds water, it'll be fine. So here's how it looks. I resealed the patch with Permatex Blue. I chased the threads on the block drain, both the fitting and in the block itself. Put some thread sealant on that, put it back together. Just gotta wait for it to cure, and then I can find out if it holds water. So yesterday I filled up the radiator and engine block with water just to see if anything would weep out, or if any of this was leaking. It was actually weeping out a little bit around the threads for the block drain. I was able to tighten it up another turn, so hopefully that took care of that. I refilled the radiator right to the brim again, and I will check again tomorrow. Even today, when I checked after filling it up and it had been weeping out that block drain, it really hadn't gone down in the filler neck here very much, so hopefully just tightening that threads will take care of the situation. And that'll be the first test. I might develop leaks if I actually get this running and it heats up, so stay tuned. So here we are 24 hours later, after I retightened the block drain and refilled the radiator and engine with water. It still has a little seepage coming out of it. Didn't even make it to the bottom of the engine, so I'm not sure if that tells me something good. But I will point out that even after waiting that long, There is still pretty much as much water in the radiator as there was yesterday. I'm actually not going to dig into that leak anymore right now. It will hold water just fine for me to try running the engine. And maybe I'll discover some other leaks that need to be corrected as well. So I changed the engine oil just to make sure there wasn't any coolant or water or any of the ATF or kerosene diluting it, and any junk that I might have dropped down into the oil when I was working on the engine. I did not change the oil filter. The oil filters for this tractor are about 20 bucks a piece. And to be perfectly honest, if I get this running, I am going to want to change the oil again almost right away anyway, just to have the engine flushed out. So I'll put a new filter on at that time. My next project to work on the 1948 Allis Chalmers B is cleaning up the gas tank a little bit. I took the sediment bowl off. I could not get this fitting out of the tank. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Let me try to angle it towards the sun a little. There's a whole bunch of garbage in there. So I have to clean that out. And I kind of already tried to show you inside the tank in a previous video. So here's what the inside of the tank looks like. It's, not incredibly rusty, but it's rusty enough. Well, ideally I would have had a pipe plug to screw in there, but all I had was this plastic plug that I kind of shoved in there to hopefully, I'm going to use some old gasoline and a bunch of nuts to shake around in there and kind of work some of the rust loose. I rounded up as many square nuts as I could find. I figure they have sharper edges and maybe they will do a good job of knocking loose the rust. Alright, I got a bunch of square nuts in there and I poured some old gas in there. I'm going to shake it all around and see if I can clean off some of the surface of the inside of the tank. Well, here's how it looks after I've shaken it a little bit. I'm not sure I'm going to get it a lot better than that. I am mainly concerned that there isn't anything that's going to flake off and plug up the screen at the sediment bowl. So I'm probably going to call that good for now. Putting a bunch of square nuts in the tank seemed like a really great idea until I discovered that the filler neck sticks down below the top surface of the tank and made it really hard to get the nuts out of there. So I'm using this cloth and pulling them out with that. Just a cautionary tale for any of you out there trying to clean out a Allis Chalmers B gas tank. Okay, I got all the square nuts out of there. Nothing else rattling around. I'm going to call that good for now. I think if a person wanted to make this better, using one of those gas tank liner treatments would probably be the way to improve it, but I think it'll work the way it is. It does not appear to be leaking, so I think we're okay. So here I have the gas tank reinstalled. If you notice, it's a bit shinier than the last time you saw it, and that's because after I wire brushed it, I hosed it down with WD-40. Well, I'm thinking maybe there is something wrong with my WD-40, or maybe I put too much on. Usually it kind of cures a little bit when you put it on something, but this time it kind of stayed wet, so I had to wipe a whole lot of it off. Something else I did, I cleaned the sediment ball, and I have that assembly all reinstalled on the tank as well. Well, at some point I stopped trying to document everything I was doing working on this 1948 Allis Chalmers B. So I want to walk you through some of the things that I did do in preparation to try to get it running. So one thing I discovered is that I didn't have any spark. So first thing I did actually was take off the cap for the magneto. These screws right here, and two more on the back side, and I filed the points, and I cleaned up. I took the cap off the end here too, and I cleaned up the rotor and all of the contacts in the cap. And then I still, just cranking it over by hand, I still didn't have any spark. Well, I took the magneto completely off the engine and just turned it over by hand, and I did have spark. So I realized that I did not have a good ground to the engine. So what I did was to clean up the bolts, one here and one down here. I cleaned up the bolts and the connection to the housing, and then I was able to get spark. But I wasn't able to get spark on the number 2 cylinder, and I realized that was because I had a bad spark plug wire. So I just found an old spark plug wire from a truck and used that. And then later on discovered I had another bad spark plug wire. It was getting spark most of the time, and I replaced that with another one from that set. So that's that. Put new spark plugs in there, gapped them to 35 thousandths. The book said 30 to 40 thousandths for the spark plug gap, so I figured I'd put an average in there. This starter, I had commented in a previous video that this is probably not the original starter. It may actually be the original starter, and it's just been converted to bolt battery cable directly to the starter, because I can see there are screws for a switch, a starter switch like they would have had right on there that you would operate with a linkage from the operator station. But the solenoid that was on here didn't work. I put this solenoid on here. It was just something I had salvaged off an old ambulance that we used as a work truck at one of my previous jobs. It was actually like an 80s vintage ambulance. It had a whole bunch of solenoids for running different things that we didn't use anymore. And then actually I don't even have it going connected to the key switch. Somebody had a key switch down there. I don't have it connected to the key switch. I just put a clip-on starter button, one to the battery terminal and one to that terminal right here. This other terminal is just wired to ground. And then that goes up to the starter. I did have to put one new battery cable on here. And then I scrounged, I don't have it on here right now, but I scrounged another battery cable because the one they were using for ground on here was kind of skinny and it was getting hot when I was trying to turn the engine over, so I didn't do that. Anyway, now on the other side, I remounted the alternator exactly the way it was on here. It's not very solid, but I can, make a better mounting for it sometime in the future. Carburetor, I wasn't getting gas into the carburetor. I took it all apart. The needle was stuck. I cleaned it up really good. I can see that it is sweating and dripping gas quite a bit here. I did have the gas shut off, but the shut off at the sediment bowl must not hold. So that might be something to replace also. But anyway, I'm going to set the camera up and we're going to give this a try. See if I can get it started.